Good morning, Ohio. It's James Ernest of the Grueling Truth Radio Network here with Rob Kellum. He is known best as Papa Stro, the Maestro, and all kinds of other people. Gorgeous George III. We're excited to discuss a wide variety of topics. Thank you for joining us, Rob.
Thank you for having me.
So let's see. Collegiate wrestler, actor, musician, professional wrestler. What don't you do?
It's a very good question. I do a lot.
Wrestling fans should know the name Gorgeous George Wagner. What is his story?
Well, he was the pioneer for professional wrestling as we know it today. I mean, it was because of him that pro wrestling's on the television map, per se. And personally to me, I mean, he's my granduncle, and hence the name Gorgeous George III earlier in my career, where I paid honor and retrospect of the family name and all that. So, yeah, he's pretty much a trendsetter that started it all as pro wrestling as we know it.
I mean, it feels like he was one of the original heels in professional wrestling. Would you feel that's an accurate statement?
Oh, absolutely. And he was like the first pro wrestler kind of transcend outside the box, if you will, of the pro wrestling industry to sports world, the entertainment world, Hollywood, etc. And my personal experience meeting people through the years and realize, you know, Muhammad Ali and James Brown and you know, of course, you know, many people influenced in the wrestling industry, and Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, etc. That had a heavy influence, Gorgeous George influence on their livelihoods and careers. Was a big thrill for me to see how much of an impact that he had on people, not only in the wrestling industry, but like in the sports world, entertainment world, etc. So it shows you how the universe is all intertwined, man.
Did any of your other family members wrestle?
Believe it or not, I grew up, I'm in a family of 15. I'm the oldest of 7 brothers and 7 sisters, right? And I am like the only pro wrestler of the family, if you will. Go figure. And of course, there was a Gorgeous George Jr., as you well know, who he was of relation to the original, but you know, he had donned the name Gorgeous George Jr. for a while, and he was really good wrestler in his own right as well. So, and then there's me. So, yeah, it's a great lineage to carry on, and just like Gorgeous George did back in the day, being the innovator and breaking new grounds, I'm kind of doing my part with what all I do and helping break new grounds, not only for myself, but helping other people in the business, you know, make their strides as well. So it's really cool that I've helped other talents in the industry move on to success, like the Revival, for example, Scott Dawson.
Oh, wow.
Luke Gallows, Barbarian, and I helped him out around his career, and now, you know, he's was part of the OC and Bullet Club with Carl Anderson, Bobby Roode, and even Sasha Banks mentioned my wrestling school when they're talking video, which, bless her heart, it's really awesome to do that. But to many people I've helped in the business, you know, it's great because you vicariously live through their successes and accomplishments. And I've never been one of those. Of course, you've probably met quite a few that, you know, are really skeptical about someone being successful. It might take something away from them, that sort of thing. But I've never been one of those people. I've always been like, anybody that had success in this business, no matter who it is, I'm all for it. I'm happy for them, and we should keep that trend going in the business per se, and support each other to be successful.
Very true. That is very important to do in professional wrestling and in life. Being supportive of others is very important.
Uh-huh.
What sports did you play growing up?
Oh, man. I played football. I wrestled, of course, obviously. USA Freestyle Greco-Roman. I came one match shy of qualifying for the U.S. Olympic team. With that, I wrestled with the Iowa Hawkeyes, who Dan Gable was like one of my heroes growing up. Training for Olympics, that sort of thing, and I used to just admire watching the videos of him training, and that's why, like, later on, I've grown to have a real mad respect for guys like Kurt Angle, and you've got Steiners and Brock Lesnar, and I call them per se our brothers of the mat, who trained really hard to accomplish what they accomplished, not only in the collegiate wrestling world, but to transcend the pro wrestling world. Because I mean, that's not a very easy task to do. And coming from someone that's done that myself, I can attest to that. So to go from one extreme to the next and be successful at both, I mean, it's a very, very big feat in itself. And more or less, you got people not only like Brock Lesnar, for example. Not only is he accomplished a lot in wrestling, pro wrestling, collegially and professionally, but I mean, look, UFC champ. He even dabbled in pro football at one time. So I mean, to transcend from one sport to the next, and from one realm to the next like that, and be successful, it's just people just don't realize what a big feat that really is.
Oh, I agree with you. I was going to say, people think it's easy because you're a great athlete in one sport, you can transition into the other sport, but yeah, I mean, there are different skill sets or different things that you have to learn.
I've got to mention Ronda Rousey. I mean, look, there's another great prime example of that. I mean, this is amazing what she's accomplished.
And then, of course, a fellow that you have something in common with, because like you were saying, being close to the Olympics in traditional wrestling, Dan7.
Yes. And Dan's amazing, man. I've trained with Dan, and I know first I've trained with him. I've trained with Ken Shamrock. I mean, I've in the past, and I've known how tough both individuals are. Dan and I were training with a group called UWFI, which are competitors of pride fighting in Japan. Right, and Ken Shamrock was with the opposing pride fighting at the time, and I had trained also with Ken in the pro wrestling realm down in Nelson Roll and Gene Anderson School, and that was the first break into the business. So, yeah, I know firsthand how tough both individuals are, and both tremendous guys in their own right, and real class individuals, and to be able to train with both those guys was a big honor for me, and just to know them itself, it's a real treat.
Oh, definitely. Great individuals, and I mean, amazing athletes. Yeah, I was going to say, we've been privileged enough to have Dan on the show a couple times, and just a really charismatic fella. Unfortunately, we haven't had Ken on, but we have had his brother Frank, and Frank's another neat individual. So, who was Robbie Eagle?
Robbie Eagle. Actually, I was a name given to me in Smoky Mountain wrestling. Jim Cornette, Rock and Roll Express, Tracy Smothers. I mean, Dr. Tom Pritchard. A lot of those guys really stuck out to help me out, and really didn't have to, which was something I've always been grateful for. And Robbie Eagle was just basically me. I had my collegiate wrestling jacket with all my medals I won, and those are all legit medals, right? So it wasn't too hard to jump in the mix with that. And some of the guys would rip me, call me Baby Steiner, because that's my wrestling style and everything. I remember having a match with Taz, right? Back then, right? And throughout the whole match, all we did was like suplex each other, like all the different ways. It was but Taz is another great guy, man, in itself. And during that time, it was great to be a part of Smoky Mountain Wrestling because you had the great veterans at the time. Someone I just mentioned, Chris Heavenly Bodies, Brian Lee, and the Stud Stable, Robert Fuller, Jimmy Golden, Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony. Then you had the young upcoming upstarters, Chris Candido, myself, you had Bobby Blaze, the Night Stalker, who in turn became Adam Bomb, that gave Ryan Clark, and just a Seekers, Lance Storm, and Chris Jericho. So the list goes on and on.
Oh,
and so
yeah, I mean, what an amazing roster.
Yeah, and at that time, we were like the liaison between WWE and WCW, which so we're like the go-to in between. We're almost like the third big promotion almost at one time. So it was a big thrill to be a part of that.
How proud of you, or I mean, how proud were you when you became Gorgeous George III?
It was a big deal to me. Funny story how that came all about. I was in between back and forth doing WCW shows, right, nightly shows, and this is like way before I signed on contractually with them. And William Regal and Dusty Rhodes kept comparing my ring style to the original Gorgeous George, right? And I kept hearing it from others in the business after them. I was like, man, what's going on here? So I was talking to my grandfather about it, right? And my grandfather just looked at me and he said, "You didn't know?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And it turns out Gorgeous George was in fact my granduncle, and him and my grandfather were amateur boxing buddies back in the day before he broke into pro wrestling business, right? So it's funny how things worked out as far as that goes, and that's what inspired me to don the name Gorgeous George III, which was in honor of the original, my granduncle. And, I carried that moniker for quite a while. I went to Mexico, AAA, main event, tagging with Jake the Snake Roberts. Memphis, had a good run with Memphis. Timmy the Wildfire, Tommy Rich, and Doug Gilbert. Wrestling Jerry the King Lawler. Tagging with Scott Hall, Backers Razor Ramon. A lot of great memories. And it took me in many places, and which led me to WCW.
Yeah, you had a really nice feud with PG-13 going on there for a while. So who was PG-13?
Wolfie D and JC Ice. JC Ice was Jamie Dundee, who was Bill Dundee's son. And we had a heck of a feud, man, for the titles, their tag titles. And at one point, we main evented Mid-South Coliseum, which was huge because only guys like Lawler and Superstar Bill Dundee and those others select few would get that nod, right? The main event there. And for us to be our feud going to that level was huge at the time. And teaming with former NWA World Champion Tommy Rich was big in itself. And we're still friends to this day. And myself and Doug Gilbert, and it was just really, we were like the Freebirds at the time of the Memphis wrestling area. So it was really cool, yeah. And wrestling Lawler, oh my gosh, wrestling Lawler and the different towns was just a big treat in itself. And one of my first days in WCW, when I started, when I signed with them, right? I'm in the office talking about to the agents, and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash walked in the room, right? And Scott looked at me, smiled, gave me a hug. He said, "Hey, George," and you still call me George, right? He said, "Hey, George, remember we used to beat up Lawler in Memphis?" and the old lady just looked at me, right? Because they didn't like putting two and two together until he brought it up. They're like, "Oh my God, that was you!" Like, duh. Of course, it was me.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned you'd worked with Jake Roberts. Do you consider him one of the best minds in professional wrestling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hit it off just like that because we know both of us are huge in psychology, right? And he's like a master. I mean, he would talk to me about, just not about wrestling, but life, stuff in life, etc., like real deep conversations, like all night. And the sun would be coming up through the window. And I'm like, "Jake, you realize we've been talking all night? The sun's coming up." But yeah, I've seen him do some amazing things. And, to teaming with him, to wrestling against him, to just watching his matches, being part of the shows he's been on, or just watching him do his thing. It's just, there's so many stories I can tell you about Jake, man. I just can't begin to say enough about him. And through him, I met Diamond Dallas Page, Raven, Steve Austin, um, who he's helped to many people he's helped through the years. And you can see whoever, who's Jake has influenced, you can tell because they have that same mentality. I mean, when I see Randy Orton, I see a lot of Jake Roberts in him. You know what I mean? Randy Orton's probably one of my favorites wrestling in the business right now because, I mean, he gets it. He understands those little things. I mean, the facial expressions, the promo work, the ring psychology. You know what I mean? It's just, it all ties and goes hand in hand. And Jake is like, he's a master of making those little things speak volumes.
You mentioned earlier about signing with WCW. What was the process of signing like?
Oh, gosh. Well, it was a journey. I had a few tryout matches. I remember my first tryout match with them, with Hogan and Macho Man, by the way, were big help, very influential, helping me sign, actually. They got wind of me through Jerry Jarrett, where I was good friends with Jeff Jarrett's dad. And my first tryout match was with Jeff Farmer, who eventually became the NWO Sting, right? Which is a good match, but at the time it just wasn't the right time, right? And then my second and final one, the one that really sealed the deal, was with Chavo Guerrero Jr., which I could not be more ecstatic about because I have huge, deep respect for the Guerreros family, the Guerrero family. Matter of fact, we used to pray together before matches, right? And which we had a tremendous match. And after the match, I'll never forget it. I'm in the back, and even Diamond Dallas Page was saying how great the match was, and there's all these agents, they come up and tell you, they give a little input on different things. You don't know which one to believe, right? But Eric Bischoff walks in the room, right? And I remember what my grandpa told me a long time ago. Says always know who the boss is, right? So Eric says, "Great match, guys," and looks at me and says, "We can use a good talent like you. Welcome aboard."
Oh, wow.
And as soon as he says that, all the agents changed their tunes, man. It's like, oh, great match. That was awesome. And I knew right then if I had a problem, Eric was the guy to go to, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember walking out the door, and there's like a line of the guys and gals welcoming to the company, and like Arn Anderson, and shaking my hand and everything. And it was just a moment I'll never forget, man. It was just like, it felt like everything was right in the world, you know what I mean?
So why were you the Maestro?
Well, turns out I had signed under Gorgeous George, right? Mm-hmm. And I was Gorgeous George there for almost a year, believe it or not. And then Randy Savage, Macho Man, wanted to give his new valet, Stephanie Beller's the name, right? So I had a meeting with Eric to try to kind of work things out. You know what I mean? What can we do, And then we got talking about my theatrical background, because I was in theater a long time ago. Like Hamlet, Macbeth, Shakespeare. I was even one of the cats in the Broadway play Cats, right? Wow. Yeah. There's a dodo bird and Alice in Wonderland, all kinds of stuff. And so we got to put our creative juices, put them all together, and thus created the Maestro, which was my original envisionment of the Maestro didn't come until later on in my WCW run, where I always thought the Maestro had more of a dark fan of the operas type persona, right? Mm-hmm. Which that kind of came to fruition towards the end of my run, with like the feuds I have with Buff Bagwell and the Cat and Ernest Miller and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I had a great one with that, man. My Maestro, man, was great. Jimmy Hart and I worked with each other on the sheet music I played with the piano, right? Mm-hmm. And because we're probably the only two that knew anything about music, which was great working with Jimmy because he had a Memphis wrestling background too, so we had a lot in common. So it was great working with Jimmy on that. So yeah, it's worked out pretty good, and at Alicia Webb, who became Symphony, right? And she was Rhea Shamrock back in WWE prior. It was great working with her. She was such a sweetheart, man. And my two original picks to be my manager before she came along were Bobby Heenan and Sherry Martel. And Bobby, who I hanged out with him and me in Oakland quite a bit, right? So then, and that's a story in itself. Those guys are so much fun. And Bobby he wanted to do it, right? But he was kind of busy doing commentary, Shivani at the time, doing his thing. And Sherry almost had the gig. And then they went ahead and went with Alicia, which, you know, it was great. It was great working with her. And she was still a sweetheart to this day.
So why did you leave WCW?
Well, my contract was up, and right when it was up, that's when kind of things were kind of going on the downward spiral for the company, right? And I had these financial advisors telling me all this stuff, like it didn't know it'd be a good thing to resign, right? And and that was right before things got really rough when they were taping the Nitros and Thunders in the same night, like to recall. And that before Vince did the big takeover.
So the rumors of you being upset about the David Arquette thing were greatly exaggerated.
Well, see, here's the thing. David's a good guy. He really is. As a matter of fact, he donated a lot of his earnings to charity because he really didn't need the money because he was set through to Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's still a good guy to this day, and I'm happy to see that he's kind of gone back to his pro wrestling roots as of late, and he just became a member of the CAC, California Club, which I'm a part of too as well. So him and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is that recently. So, but I just think he was just caught in the situation where they were just hot shotting his celebrity status, putting the title on him, that sort of thing, right?
Exactly.
And they're just looking at it as a business standpoint, which I could see their side. But a lot of traditionalists, I mean, you got guys in the business. And ladies in the business too, that they work their butts off to be the top dog, to be the world champion, right? And so, I mean, I could see that side too, how they would feel with someone just like walks right in.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say Roddy Piper never won the world title, but yet David Arquette did.
Right.
Yeah.
And look at Piper, and some guys and gals in the business didn't need the championship. To be over, because you're over no matter what. I mean, the title doesn't make you. You make the title. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Some people need the title. Honestly, they need a title to be significant. But there's so many that are that talented that they don't need a title. Even if like Piper's
And Jake.
Yeah, Jake Roberts and. So many, you can go on and on, right? I mean, that are never held the world championship, but yet they're more recognized than most world champions, right? So.
I remember seeing a video somewhere about this, that at one point you were scheduled to wrestle Hulk Hogan at a WrestleMania or something. Was that a thing that was scheduled?
Well, here's actually we almost had a feud in WCW.
Oh, cool.
And it almost went down. It almost happened. Because I know Hogan, he even told me one time he wanted to do a program with me, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and I almost had a program with Flair, too.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, there's so many, I mean, I was excited for both anyway, because, I mean, this is great. To do a fractional program. I mean, it's great to have a match with them, which I've had matches, but like to do a program and like really have it stand out was big. I wanted to have a program with Steamboat a while back. Because being in the ring with Ricky Steamboat, oh my God, it's just like Bobby Eaton. I mean, it's like an art form. It's just it's two of the smoothest guys I've ever been in the ring with. and Steamboat and Bob Eaton.
You mentioned
Incredible.
about your wrestling school. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, the wrestling school I had it at Jacksonville, North Carolina, and I've been able to help out some great people that moved on to do great things. Scott Dawson, who I mentioned, with the Revival. I know he's going by a different name. I guess Dash Hardwood now. They don't the Revolt thing now. They've changed their name. Eric Shea, who's a cruiserweight out of the Maryland area. Mika and Tracy Taylor out too. Just two great people in itself. So many, some of the other names I mentioned earlier have helped out. But it's great to kind of give back and help people when I can. And I've had like people from overseas come train too. La Flecha from Mexico. She brought some of his luchador buddies from Mexico. The UK Pit Bulldogs in the UK came and trained a few years back as well. So I have guys and gals, whenever they would come to the States, they would come train at the school and everything. So, I'm trying to get back. I got a building now, new building for the school, and I'll be reopening up soon. So, just as soon as the world opens back up, I mentioned earlier, and things get to roll again, I'm hoping to get that back to rocking and rolling.
Sounds awesome. Now, you mentioned the ladies. One of your more controversial feuds, I would say, would be with the Queen of Pain. So why did you feud with her?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's, she had a lot of promise, a lot of potential, man, and and strong as any guy. Not stronger than some. You know what I mean? And I was like, heck, man, let's do something, man. And we had actually, at one time, we had a dog collar match at one time with her. And I was,
I've heard.
Yeah. And I was doing, it's funny, because even with Gorgeous George, I was doing intergender matches before they became cool, right? Like, I was having blindfold matches with Miss Texas, Jacqueline, and everything, which she was great. We trained in the gym together and everything, and she's still a great lady, man. And we wrestled in Memphis together, around the Midwest and Puerto Rico together and everything. I mean, and seeing how Tessa Blanchard, her success, man, and her doing her thing, and of course, you see China break new ground, WWE, and all that, and so I mean, it's great though, the fact that not everybody can do that type of intergender. I mean, it takes a special chemistry, it takes a special story to kind of bring that together, if you will. But with the right story and with the right people behind the story, I mean, you can make some great intergender matches.
Now, it seems like you've always been an actor, but at what point did you become an actor?
Well, heck, I've been an actor all my life. Everything from theater to wrestling to actual TV and film, and it's been going pretty good. I've been at One Tree Hill, Secrets of Lies in ABC, Sleepy Hollow on Fox, Good Behavior in TNT, just to name a few. Been in quite a number of films, horror, sci-fi, gangster films. Currently, I got two films coming out soon. One is almost complete. That'll be out. It's a horror film that'll be out later this year, beginning next year, called Stench of Iniquity. And in that film, I'll be betraying an ancient vampire known as Abba.
Ooh.
And I'm currently part of a supernatural series called the Dust series, which we just done 3 seasons, and we're going to be back on set soon for season 4. And I betray the chief, who's like the new face of death, the new Grim Reaper. And it has like vampires, werewolves, all kinds of supernatural phenomena in that. And you can watch the Dust series on the Veil TV, which are syndicated to Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, and Apple TV, and Samsung TV as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like you've got a wide variety of projects currently or soon to be. The Supernatural Assassins, Sacred Hearts, Smoking Spurs, Devil's Daughter. I mean, it seems like you're quite busy.
Yeah. But Devil's Daughter is going to be an Harlequin origin story, actually, and that I star as Dr. Arkham. And if you're a Batman fan, you know the story of Dr. Arkham for sure. But a lot of cool stuff. Really blessed with a lot of projects coming up. So things are just rolling. I got some more coming up in the works too. And as soon as I get to divulge out the information, I'll let everybody know. So I try to keep everybody updated what's happening with me. And of course, I got podcasts of my own. I do every week, weekly podcast.
Yeah, where's it at? So our listeners can tune in.
In the Room podcast every Tuesday night at 9 on WCNation.com. One of the co-hosts panel, along with Brady Hicks of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Kathy Fitzpatrick, Matt Grimm, Derek McDonald, myself. We interview special guests, and we take callers from all over. And then Thursday nights are WCW Retro with yours truly, Papa Stro, and which we a lot of wrestling nostalgia. Old school. We talk about old school matches, dream matches, have interviews every now and then, and a little bit of news. So it's a lot of fun, and that's also on DeepSeaNation.com.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds amazing. I was going to say, being able to get caught up with the former WCW alums and hear from them, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you never knew who's going to call in. In fact, I've had Sonny Ono call in a few times. I Buff Bagwell call in one time, too. And just last week, in the room, we interviewed buddy of mine, Haku.
Oh, cool.
Ming,
yeah. I hear now. Are the stories about him true that he is pretty much the toughest guy in the history of professional wrestling, which is saying a lot?
Say no more. No, hanging out with him. I hung out with him and Barbarian quite a bit, right? And I know every time we'd walk in the building, whatever, everybody like so nice to us, you know. And it was great. I have so many funny stories about Haku, Ming, and Barbarian. I'll tell you one. Mm-hmm. There was quite a few times that we like to play basketball, right? Mm-hmm. After the shows, they're near Orlando. Taping things, so they invited me to play like a 2-on-2 basketball. Find a partner of my choosing, right? So I literally asked everybody in the company, and everybody turned me down because they knew I was playing with Barbarian. I mean, not good. And I remember Kevin Sullivan puts his hand around my shoulder and says, "Good luck." So I ended up doing the handicap thing, 2-on-1, myself against Barbarian, and my God, I took more bumps on that court than I ever did in the ring with him.
Oh, damn.
Because he'd elbow me and blocking me, and Barbarian blocked the sun, throwing his paw up in the air, shoot, butter, shoot, you can't see nothing. So I tried to get cute, right, and I waist-locked Haku, right? Mm-hmm. And Haku literally was dribbling the ball down, dragging me down the court. He shoots the ball up and scores. And I am all black and blue, right? And but they took me out to dinner that night. But it was always a good time with those guys. They were great. And they took me in like family, man. So it's just like, they're really good people. Tough as nails, but they're good people.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been awesome getting caught up with you, listening to the stories, learning about the podcast. So before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web, where should they check you out? Where can they hear you at different places?
All right. Well, my official website is thestro.com, THESTRO.com. Florida Ladies on TV, wrestling, film, and merchandise page. Directly is thestro.com/stromerchandise.html. On Facebook at Stro the Maestro, Twitter at @Stro, Instagram, Maestro. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Maestro. And I'm on Patreon, which I'm still working on, patreon.com/Papastro. And I'm on Twitch. I just signed on Twitch. So I'll be doing some new videos on Twitch. Twitch.com/RealPapastro. And just quick tidbit, on Friday nights, I've started a brand new show on my Facebook called The Stro Zone. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone meets Tales from the Crypt, if you will. And each Friday night, I'll be introducing you all to like old school horror and sci-fi films. But it's every Friday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time on my Facebook, Sterling Maestro. And this Friday night's feature is going to be King of the Zombies.
Sounds awesome. Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And those that are listening, thank you for your support through the years. You guys mean the world to not just me, but all of us to do what we do. And we're all in this thing together. And let's just keep on showing you love and support, man.